Um, what's going on, everyone? Joey here. I am here with Ashton. Say what's up, Ashton.
Howdy.
I wanted to bring Ashton on today. I literally just told him this, but I feel like a lot of you guys see him online. You see his lifts, but you don't actually know anything about him as a person. So I feel like he would be an interesting person to bring on, especially. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen his training lately, but this guy's on fire. So we can talk a little bit about that. Um, but yeah, so Ashton, how you doing, man?
Uh, doing all right. Holding up. Just was really busy for the past several weeks wrapping up the school year here.
What are you going to school for?
So I'm at a school in Maryland. I'm getting my PhD in clinical and medical psychology.
Nice. Psychology is a great topic. Honestly, it was one of the subjects that interested me a lot when I was in school. How are you doing? Like, are you doing good? Is it tough or losing sleep?
Oh well, yeah. The past several weeks I did lose some sleep. Like most other graduate programs, it's pretty tough towards the beginning and it's very class heavy. But I mean, got through it.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. What you were in the military, right? Are you still in the military?
Yeah, I commissioned in the Army last year, so I'm still in.
Okay, what does that mean commissioned in the army? What does that mean?
Oh, so essentially what that is you can commission to the Army as an officer, or you can enlist, as an enlisted soldier. You can enlist after high school or with the GED, but to become a commissioned officer, typically you have to go through and have a 4-year bachelor degree minimum.
Is that so after you finish that, do you have a job in the military? Is that how that works or can you do anything? It's just through the military.
Um, there's there's a there's a good amount of different routes that you can take. Most of us really aren't even aware of all of them. But you can go through things like ROTC in undergrad, which is what I did in college, and you go through ROTC all 4 years, and then you essentially contract into the military while you're in college and in ROTC. And then once you graduate, you commission as well into the Army. You can also go to college without ROTC and then go through something known as OCS, which is Officer Candidate School. And you can go through that training after you have your bachelor's degree to become an officer. Or you can go to the United States Military Academy. You can go to West Point and then receive your commission from there.
What is the end goal? Is the end goal to actually have a job within the military, or were you going to be out like just kind of doing your own practice, or like what do you want to end up?
That's a good question. So my career trajectory now looks a lot different than what I was planning to do originally. Um, Originally, I was planning to branch either into infantry or armor, just like a bunch of other dudes. But I this opportunity sort of came along, and I found out about it in the weirdest way in the locker room through another officer that was in a PhD program, and he told me about it. Um, Great officer and even better person. And then since then, he told me about the school and he introduced me to a lot of people and I worked hard in undergrad and, I got accepted into the school and I got educational delay from the Army, which means essentially I could continue my education after my bachelor's degree. And so that's what I'm doing. So with that, though, since I do have the educational delay and I've done ROTC, my commitment to stay in the Army has lengthened. So after I finish, I will still be, yes, like operating in the military for at least the next, or I should say working. I'll still be in the military for at least like the next 7 years, but I'll probably stay in. Um, I think I want to stay in for closer to 20, and then afterwards get out, and then I want to transition to ideally like a federal agency, not necessarily like the VA, but perhaps still work within the government, sort of in a different capacity, maybe with the CIA or the FBI or things like that.
Nice. That it seems like you're someone that, as far as your profession or like you like the structure. Like the military is obviously very structured. There's, you know, it seems structured at least to someone looking from the outside in that there's like a path and you take that path and that path can lead you to different avenues and you can stay in the military if you want. And if you work hard, obviously you can go up the ranks and things like that. Is that something that sounds accurate?
Yeah, that's somewhat accurate. But I would say though that there are a lot more than one way. There's many more ways than one to skin a cat, and I guess rather than there being one sort of path that you can just take, there's many different sort of combinations and paths that you can take, and sometimes it's honestly not really even totally predictable. I mean, you could end up anywhere.
As far as what you're doing right now goes, I know I remember at 2016 Nationals, I believe you squatted like 639. Um, but I feel like back then your military commitments, like physically, were way more than what they were now. Maybe not till recently did you start to like really not have to. I know you got used to go on crazy runs, right, with like a weighted backpack and things like that, and then literally finish and then have to compete or something. Could you talk a little bit about your physical military commitments over the past couple years and like how has that sort of crossed over into training and competing
Okay.
and whatnot? Yeah.
So towards the beginning, you're sort of right about that. I would say that it was a lot more. There were a lot more demands and requirements. Well, maybe that's not exactly the way I would put it. The demands and requirements. I mean, at the end of the day, you just have to pass your PT test. You have to be able to ruck, which is carrying the weighted backpack, the military backpack, so to speak, for a certain distance for a certain amount of time and stuff like that. Very sort of like physically feasible goals for most like young in shape people that are in like the military. Um, and I just I had taken it upon myself to do some things harder or to push some things further because big sort of emphasis in my program was being an officer wasn't just about meeting the standard. It was about
Exceeding.
exceeding the standard. Right. So I would work really hard to sort of do that in a lot of areas. Um, and that did like to some degree most likely affect training, but yeah, that did. I would say especially when I would compete at collegiates because I would usually like within like a month beforehand I would do like a marathon, like a ruck. I would have a rucksack and I would do like a marathon. I would do the Baton Death March in New Mexico, which is an awesome event that's put on each year.
It's called the
Um,
Death March.
yeah, it's so it's based off of the real Baton Death March that occurred during the Second World War. Um, but in a lot of the soldiers that were a part of that, they were from a unit in New Mexico, in that area where they hold the event. And some of the survivors each year from that event, when I was doing it, would come to the event. We would be able to see them and shake their hand before going off and doing the marathon. Um,
That's
yeah,
dope.
really, yeah, it was a really powerful experience, especially towards the beginning. And yeah, so I would do stuff like that, and it's
Yeah.
like really physically demanding. I mean, I remember the first time I did that, like I literally felt like my body, like the way it functioned, literally changed after I did that. It
And
was
then,
very,
so
very.
how soon after that did you compete at collegiates?
I think it was about 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's not enough time to be at your full power. Yeah,
No,
yeah. But you still. I remember you going into collegiates. I don't remember if you used knee wraps. Did you do knee wraps but no suit?
no. My freshman year, I did suit and knee wraps,
This was
but again,
this was way back. This was way back, right?
yeah, way back. Yeah,
Yeah.
that year I did a suit and knee. My freshman and sophomore year, I did a suit and knee wraps, but the suit, keep in mind, isn't like really the super tight or crazy suit.
Yeah.
Get like a 200 pound. No, it was just like a protective piece of cloth, basically, that gave you a little bit of edge, but nothing to substantially like actually increase
What
like my
about
squat.
was it 2018 or 2017? The last one you did.
Okay, so there was 2019, 15, 16, 17, 18. Let me think. So I did 16, 17, 18, and 19 collegiate championships. Because I started college at 15,
I just
so I did
remember
16.
people saying Ashton went in and he was raw and he beat everyone.
Okay, yeah. So I think they're talking about 2 years. So my junior year of college, at the 18 championship, 2018, I I competed in the equipped division with just knee wraps, and I had won by like a pretty substantial margin. And I that meet I actually I didn't really even push my deadlift that hard that meet. I just like did like some like arbitrary like seven something number. And then my senior year, 19 championship, I competed in the raw division, but I think I still out totaled everyone in the equipped as well. I'd have to double check that though. I don't hold me to that. But yeah, I totaled 1930 at that meet, and that was my first 800 deadlift in
In
competition.
competition.
Yeah.
Dang, that was this last one. I don't know if I was there for that day. I remember seeing you. Um I think I literally left the same day. I think I was literally leaving as you were competing, and I remember contacting everyone. How did he do? How did he do? What's going on? What's going on? I think I was talking to Christian, asking him like what you were doing and what you were gonna put up. So now it's starting to come back to me. I remember taking a picture with you there, but yeah, dude, that's crazy. Like the fact like people don't understand so the numbers that you're putting up now, it is incredible. It is amazing to me. But because I've seen what you can do when you are severely suppressed due to other commitments outside of powerlifting, it's amazing to see. But I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't want to say I'm not surprised, but I could totally see that you have this potential that throughout your powerlifting career has just been very heavily suppressed by like massive interference from a type of exercise that completely contradicts what we're doing on the platform. Like you're literally running. You know what I
Oh
mean?
no, I would have to. No, I would totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And I sometimes like with a couple of my close friends have that discussion, like what I would have, where I would have, I guess maybe have been at or looked like if I never
Yeah.
did like RPC or the army, and I like focused really strictly on lifting. I would definitely be
Yeah.
heavier and
I
stronger.
think I
Yeah.
think um I think that it's not like that potential's gone. You have it in you. I know that you have it in you, and in my opinion, your numbers will continue to rise as you continue to explore, this weight class. And it's honestly great to see. I mean, for those that don't know, I don't work with Ashton. I don't coach Ashton, but he's someone that I've known over the years. You've always been really nice to me. For whatever reason, it seemed like it's like we all have this sort of essence, and like even without even really knowing each other too much, it just kind of, you just on the same, we just like friendly towards each other. I don't know. It's like I recognize your hard work. You see what I'm doing, and you always show support. So we've always had like a great relationship over the years. I remember talking to you in the doorway of my hotel room. I
16.
believe 2016 Nationals. Yeah.
It was 2016.
Um,
I remember.
and I think Jesse was with us. But yeah, it was really, I've seen you. I've seen you. I remember I was your friend on Facebook from when I believe you won Worlds. Okay, for those that don't know, you won Worlds as a junior, I believe. What year was that?
That was 2014.
2014. Do you
September 2014.
do you remember what you put up?
Woo. Uh, let's see. That was an equipped me. Um, I did like a 396 bench, and I did a 683 raw conventional deadlift, and I did a like a low mid six squat.
How much did you, or how old were you back then?
I was 17.
Madness. Absolute madness. So yeah, I mean, that is that's pretty dope to see, man. So moving forward from this point out, do you have any major physical military commitments coming up?
Um, hmm. Not in the immediate future, like the next 4. I mean, I have BOLIC this summer, so that's like an officer training course that I have to go to. But outside of that, there aren't really any huge like physical training like demands or requirements in the next 4 years, well, next 3 years, through while I go through graduate school. But I'll still have to, maintain my physical fitness and still pass PT tests and stuff like that because
What is the hardest part of the PT test for you right now, would you say?
uh,
Or is it like super
I'm,
easy for you?
it's so if we're talking about the old PT test, definitely the run. That's usually the hardest part. But the more, I mean, it's just a matter of actually doing it. Like if I run more often, then I usually perform really pretty well on it. But if I don't, then that's when I get to like that borderline threshold, like of like not so great running. But it's still like decent, but not like really good. But
Is
if I
it
run like consistently, it's good. It gets good.
is it more so just like, okay guys, we need you to take this test to make sure that you stay in shape? Sort of a it's sort of a you know you know that you're going to be evaluated, and you know that, like, obviously if someone does anyone show up to those and they just like sucked horribly, they're just terrible, like they're just out of shape and everything, and it's like super embarrassing.
It happens,
Man,
but it happens. Like it happens. But it is one of those things that we are like all soldiers are supposed to keep up with and pass and
what it
maintain a certain level of physical fitness according to that test. But then there's a new PT test, a new physical fitness test that's coming out. It was delayed due to the whole COVID crisis, but it was supposed to come out this year. And that test actually looks a lot different than the older test, and it would actually probably be better and complement my powerlifting training better than the old PT test does.
how do you what makes you say that? Is there just less running and more of a lifting component to it, body weight stuff, or
Yeah, so the old PT test is 2 minutes push-ups, 2 minutes sit-ups, and a 2 mile run. And then the 2 mile run has to be done like in a certain time range. And if you don't like really lift weights or anything, and you just run, and you're like a healthy young individual, like running that won't really be an issue. But if you like squat 700 pounds regularly, and you weigh like over 200 pounds, and you have low body fat, then like yeah, like that makes like the run more difficult. But if you keep doing it, of course, then you usually be fine. But the new PT test, on the other hand, um, that's different. So that instead of 3 events, it's 6 events, and some of the events are power based. So like you have a power throw, like with a weighted medicine ball. You have a 3 rep deadlift max.
oh man.
Um, you have yeah. So the test is like designed more so for the gym bros, quote unquote. But then there's also the sprint drive carry. So you have a 90-pound sled and you have 45-pound kettlebells, and you have to like carry it for a certain distance and do it in a certain amount of time. So like that kind of stuff, like yeah, like the new PT test when I like first did it, because they were trialing it in a bunch of different areas. Like when I first did it, I like smoked it and like did really really good
It
on it.
actually seems kind of fun. And I'm
Yeah,
sure you
no,
like destroy everyone at it.
it was super fun, and that PT test I was really good with. The old one like it did decent, but the new one like freaking smoke show. Love it.
Is there a
Um,
penalty for those that perform badly on those things?
well, it can kind of if you like consistently. I mean, according to like regulation, like you're not really supposed to be like consistently like failing PT tests. It can definitely hurt your chances to promote. It can definitely negatively affect your career, and it can sort of affect like the perception of others have of you in the
I
organization.
could totally see them like calling someone into the office like, "Hey man, like you failed like your last three PT tests. What's going on?"
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you could even like I think like in some circumstances you can like get removed from the military for like consistently not being
Damn.
able to promote.
And
Or get like a waiver or something if you do have something like physically wrong, like if you are injured or something, like then like get a waiver, of course.
that's interesting, man. I'm curious. I was very curious about this when the whole COVID thing started. is the military I don't know if you can even talk about this, but are they like business as usual, or is it like everybody's in a mask, like all that stuff? You know what I mean? Like, is there crazy like when you guys work out, for example, if anyone's working out on base, are they all in masks or whatnot, or you know what I mean? I would imagine the military would just have tests so they could test like all the important people and um, internally perhaps things unless there's an outbreak. I mean, the military is a bunch of healthy dudes. You know what I mean? It's not like I don't imagine that given what we know about this situation, all these like young healthy military guys. And like if you can get into the military, you're probably not gonna get the coronavirus probably isn't gonna end you. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, all I'll say is I guess the major thing that really happened is like a lot of like training and stuff, can like get paused or like pushed back a bit. And in terms of like travel, that's like also restricted. That's public news. Those are really like the main things that's been going on, sort of in that domain and realm.
Got it. What did you feel initially when this outbreak happened and they had to start locking everything down?
Yeah. So I've actually been kind of like keeping up with this since like late December.
Yeah.
So I kind of had a feeling since then that it was coming. But once like cases like started actually appearing in the United States, like first in Illinois and areas like that, then I at that point that's pretty much when I knew, or at least I mean I'm not like all knowing or anything. I'm not omniscient, but I'll say like that's when I pretty much like speculated that this was going to spread across the entire nation, and in that it would at the very least affect everyone everywhere, and that's exactly sort of what happened. Um, so I kind of saw it coming, but just watching how it was like sort of handled over time also was very interesting, and how that sort of progressed.
Do you think that we did everything like solid, or do you think that we screwed up, like in the way that the country handled it?
The best answer that I can give to that is I don't really know.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird thing. I think I remember. I mean, I was very thankful to be able to do the Arnold. I was. It was annoying though because I was like, I was one of those. I was one of those people wearing a mask. I was like washing my hands. I was just like, man, I don't want to deal with this. I want to compete. It actually like, what really messed me up was on Wednesday when I went to do my last session. They
Hmm.
said, "Oh, like the Arnold's canceled." I didn't know that powerlifting was going to continue, but I thought to myself, well, maybe they'll let it go without spectators because they said that for strongman. So I assumed. I mean, man, we trained so hard for this. I'm sure that there's a way to do it, and
Ghost Town Showdown.
I still think, yeah, the Ghost Town Showdown. I still think that today, you know, I don't know if you got that email about nationals and like, or just competing in USAPL, but I still
Hmm.
think that there is a way to run nationals. Like, imagine if we did like 10 days and we did like 30 or 40 people per session, 3 sessions a day. So you spread everything out and you have minimal people present at a certain time and you have cleanings in between. And I mean, obviously, you have to bring your own chalk. I mean, it's not the best, but I think it could be done. I think meets could be handled. I mean, I've been watching UFC and the way that they are doing it. I mean, they test everyone. Obviously, USAPL probably doesn't have the money to test everyone. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think nationals could happen with precautions. Um, are you stressed about it? Are you very like, when you go out in public, are you kind of paranoid? Or are you just like, hey man, I'm not worried about this thing. I'm gonna live my life, or are you like, oh, I'm gonna be really careful and um, just to stay away from people and things like that.
So I think as the situation was developing and there was like really sort of a lack of the data and just a need for time to acquire things, I was cautious. I wasn't overly worried for my own safety or health, but just because of the area that I live in, there's a lot of, aging population here, and things like that. So I'm just like kind of cognizant of those things. So I've actually been in my apartment since like early to mid March. So
Same.
aside from like 3 garage training sessions and picking up food here and there, like I've literally been completely alone this entire time. Um,
Are you holding up mentally all right? You seem fine. You seem like a very mentally strong person. I don't even need to ask you that, but I'm curious because a lot of us sometimes we kind of thrive off social interaction, and I think social media has really helped in that area. But how are you? Are you mentally good? Do you have down days? Or are you pretty consistent throughout? With given that you're unable to go outside and stuff.
Pretty consistent for the most part. There are down days, I think, just like with everybody else. I think we all have them.
Yeah.
Some days, like especially like sort of transferring everything on the fly, like in school and everything, and like with the training, like the in-person training that we would get, and a lot of different stuff that like all had to go like on electronic platforms that we'd never done before. The transition went really well though. I mean, like it went really smoothly, so that was awesome. Like our department did a really good job with that. But like some days it was definitely harder than others to be motivated to sit like for hours on end, like just doing work.
Oh man, I feel for you. That was so hard for me. Like my brain is always racing, so it's very difficult for me to sit and pay attention to something that maybe I'm not super ridiculously passionate about in that, like in school you take a variety of different subjects. Some subjects I
Hmm.
didn't care about and it's hard to go through that. Um how how I saw that you're training in your house? You're literally training
Yeah,
in your house, like next to the
like
kitchen.
99% of the time, like yeah, literally, I measured an area out between my kitchen and my couch, and I set up a mat there, and I purchased like a $130 rack with a 300-pound weight maximum, and I literally set it up in between my kitchen and the couch. Yeah, and I measured it to where the barbell it would literally be physically impossible unless I shifted like 8 inches plus one direction or the other, like to hit either the counter or my couch.
Nice, man. When you hit those heavy deadlifts, are you doing that in the house or do you have another place for that?
So all those deadlifts that I was doing, at least before the crazy ones, like all the beltless stuff, like that was in my garage, my parking garage. And but the last 3 Saturdays, so each Saturday I usually do like my infamous Ashton Rouska Invitational.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about
As people
training.
have called it. Yeah, as people have called it. And that's where I sort of that garage is sort of an area where me and a couple of others will train sometimes. I'll only go there once a week on Saturdays,
Yeah.
and we never have more than like 5 people in that space at a time. That's like the max. But it's usually like 2 or 3 of us.
Is there enough weights for everyone?
So we'll all usually bring in like weights. Like I'll usually bring 90 pounds or 180 pounds, and somebody will bring 100s, and then the pound plates too. Some of the other pound plates, and a lot of them are not calibrated, and so a lot of them are actually weighed, and most of those plates are actually a lot heavier than what is like advertised due to like rest and everything else.
Nice, nice, nice. Well, that's dope, man. I mean, since we're on it, could you give us a quick, just like brief, Monday through Sunday, what does a week of training look like for Ashton?
Sure. And I began to adopt sort of this method and towards the end of undergrad just because of kind of like you mentioned the demanding like like doing PT, running and rucking and everything else. And then like I like went and like did training so I couldn't train for a while, like I couldn't lift weights for a while. Um, and so at the beginning of undergrad I would kind of split it up normally like a lot of people would, and I would like do squat, deadlift, and bench 2-3 times a week, and I would have it split up throughout the week and blah blah blah. And I just kind of got to a point where I was like, if I can still get stronger, doing not necessarily doing less, but centralizing things on a day where I don't necessarily have to, PT or do all this other stuff, that would be great. And so I got to a point where I realized that, I could literally because so my this is kind of like my theory behind it. There's not really any actual like scientific data that's like behind this other than just data I've collected on myself. So especially while competing in 205, I feel like that I had out of the weight class probably the most muscle mass out of anybody. And so, with that said, theoretically, what that allowed me to do was just to primarily focus my powerlifting training, at least, primarily on singles because I didn't necessarily have to do the volume as much to, build the muscle mass and everything else. Like I had the base developed. I just had to lift the singles and lift heavy, and I got stronger. And I tried that, and it worked. I got stronger, like substantially. Like my total went up like a pretty crazy amount, and then like pretty fast too. When I started doing that, and so what I do right now, Monday through Sunday, so Monday through Friday, Monday through Wednesday or Thursday, I'll usually do 1 day of like squat high bar, and it's a lot lighter right now. Like I'll do like sets with like 315,
I do the
like
same
beltless
thing.
lift. Yeah, and it's like totally light. Like
It's
it's not
super
crazy.
light, but it's still very useful, and because we are drug free, as much as me saying that about you may irritate people, um, we can benefit greatly from lifting. Let's say you have 7 days. If you can give a muscle stimulus twice within those 7 days as a drug-free lifter, you can sort of mimic the effects of somebody that's on something that only does that once a week because they're gonna grow the entire week.
Yep.
So we need something. We got to kind of manually go in and kind of tell your body like, yo, let's keep these muscles growing. You know what I mean? So the lighter
Yeah,
days are really, really important.
and that's exactly what like my second squat day is, and it's like high bar. I don't use a belt. I don't use sleeves. I just lift, and then for bench, I'll usually bench two other times a week. One of them, right as of right now, 1 day are just essentially progressive overload sets of five. The other day is sets of three, and then on the Saturday I do the singles. Um, and then for deadlift, as of now, I deadlift once a week, but there will be periods where I will deadlift because I'm going to try to peak my deadlift for something big in a few weeks. But right now, well, I'm sorry, not right now, but beforehand, I would deadlift twice a week. But on the second day, I would do sumo, and I would go heavy, and I would absolutely beat the shit out of myself, like on deadlift every single week. Like leading up to the Arnold, this is like another kind of like experiment, quote unquote. Like I would beat the shit out of myself twice a week on deadlift, and then like 6 weeks out from the comp, I cut out the secondary deadlift day, and I just left conventional at the end of the week. And then at the end of the cycle, before like I had gotten sick and the pec injury really got bad, I like pulled 805 for two like relatively easy. And so in my mind, I was like, I'm already good for like 840 plus. Um,
So
but then like
your
what happened
your
after that?
training is a consequence of. I mean, you had to find a way to be efficient with what was going on, in the military. So it sort of came about because of that. But hearing you talk about it, I'm not hearing anything that sounds like that doesn't even make sense. Like you have essentially two squad days. One of them is lighter and high bar. I literally do the same thing. You have an SBD day, which is your Ashton Rouska Invitational, right? And then you have
Yep.
you have two bench days. I'm sure. Do you do any kind of? I'm sure you do pull-ups, right? You do some sort of rows somewhere in there,
I
probably.
yeah, I do pull up 7 days a week.
There you go. Okay, yeah. So you're getting your pulling motions in. So you're basically hitting everything, and like you said, you already have a ton of muscle mass. And what people don't understand is, I mean, like all training is gonna build muscle. Like you could do triples if you do enough of them, and it's gonna build muscle. You're just gonna be stronger because you're not sitting there doing sets of 10 forever. So all types of training, it all adds up. It's all gonna build muscle. So
Yep.
if people listening to this could get off of the whole mindset, like oh man, if I don't do bodybuilding, I'm gonna look like shit. I mean, Russ cuts out a lot of bodybuilding when we lead into big meets, and he still looks great. You do too. You know what I mean? It's not like, I mean, you're not there. I don't see you there doing like curls for hours. You know what I mean? A
No.
lot of powerlifters that they say no skinny champions. I mean, powerlifting makes you jacked. You know what I mean? There's no like you're not gonna not build muscle from doing heavy squats, deadlifts, and benching. You know what I'm saying? And pull-ups. So you could
Yep.
literally just do those four movements and be ahead of like I don't know any kind of leg press or whatever the
And
fuck
you
is
could
out there.
look better than a majority of like gym goers. Like literally
Yes,
just doing those.
because
Like
it's a
people.
you're always adding on top of what you built with powerlifting, which is what I love about it.
Yeah, people don't think that, but I mean, there are periods of time where like we're training like PT and stuff outside got very like difficult, and I would only squat, bench, and deadlift, and then pull-ups would be part of PT, so I
Yeah.
would do pull-ups at PT. Like that would be literally all I would do a lot of times.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really beat the basics, and I think being like sticking to the basics is actually, I saw this online, but I agree with it. Like sticking to the basics is actually an advanced way of thinking because most people are gonna think they need this variety, they need all these complicated things. Like literally, barbell, work is gonna do so much for you. I mean, you're literally a perfect example of that. That you can be jacked and just have limited diversity in your regimen.
Yeah, I
Um,
I can literally tell you, literally over this quarantine, like, and right now I'm like probably getting to the strongest I've ever been in my life. So I had up to 580 pounds, right, in my apartment.
yep.
And like that's obviously not even like near like my max weights
Yeah.
for like squat and deadlift, but it's more than enough to to build muscle and get stronger actually.
Yes.
So I like no belt, no sleeve, like 5 6 weeks. I just like in here just hammered away at it, and wow, like the phenomenal difference that it made in my training. Literally just basic high bar squats, basic conventional deadlifts, basic bench press, no fancy, you know, gimmicks or anything. Just basic. And I mean, I gained weight, I got stronger, it worked.
Yeah, I mean weight moves weight, and anytime you're someone that is, if you're strong and you're really lean, anytime you can fill out that frame, oh my God, it's gonna help you so much, and I'm sure squats are gonna feel better, and your bench too. I know has been coming up a lot. Just the way, even building your back, like the way that the weights are supported on your back on squat, and just being more stable on bench, and obviously deadlift. Um, it's gonna help tremendously. So that's kind of what your training week looks like. Now on your Ashton Rouska Invitational Day,
Hmm.
so you train Monday through Thursday and then Saturday and then done. So you have Friday and Sunday off.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll take Thursday is usually really light too. Like I'll do like standing good mornings, like with like a ridiculous lightweight, like 135 or like 185 pounds, and then like I'll do pull-ups. And it's like to
Makes
get a
sense.
good stretch basically and like get ready for the weekend.
It's like you're doing a very like you're training and then you're doing a little quick taper and then you're doing a meet. You're training a little quick taper and a meet. So you've trained yourself to just like compete every week basically. Now
Yeah.
I notice on your SBD days, you're not just only doing singles. It looks like you're doing some fives, doing some triples sometimes. Is that how that works?
Yeah, a lot of the time. And then the closer I get to a meet, the more I usually take out a lot of that back down work. The only lift that I don't usually, like most of the time, do back down work for, though, is like deadlift.
Yeah, I mean you're already at the end of the workout, so it kind of makes sense. What did you do this last week? You did sets of, I don't remember,
So
sets
I
of
did I did 700 for five. I did 800 on 700 for five on squat,
mhm,
800 for three on deadlift,
fives and
and I
threes.
mean there's actually something about that deadlift that I even wanted to. And then I benched 450 for two singles. I've been basically benching super low volume the past 8 weeks ish after the Arnold, so I could let my pit heal.
Yep.
And it's like pretty good now. I'd say it's like 90%, 90+%. So I mean,
Yeah.
I can press
Anytime.
450.
Tell me about the deadlift. Tell me about the deadlift.
Oh yeah. So I hit my goal. So my goal range was to go 3 to 5 reps with 800 pounds. And I hit three. And I know after the first two that I definitely have strength for more, maybe 4 to 5. But like kind of like you were like scraping together resources and stuff, So like the plates
Yeah.
and everything, the footing isn't like perfect, and like it kind of starts sliding and stuff like that. So that kind of affected like the third rep, and then once I did the third rep, I was like, I'll just stop here, and then I can heal for the next several sessions instead of like dying on a grind for
And
another rep.
as far as weight selection goes, would you say that there's a bit of an autoregulatory component, meaning you are you are gonna listen to your body and put weights on the bar. Like if you feel good, you're gonna put more on there. If you feel like shit, you're probably not gonna force yourself to kill yourself.
Yeah, so that component is built in. That
Yes.
component, and it's kind of like, I mean, if you view training, sort of on a spectrum between, completely auto-regulatory, systems and like completely like percentage-based systems, I land somewhere, in the middle.
Yeah.
I use a good combination of both. And a big element of it, I think, even if you are, using percentage style based, training only, I think it's still good to sort of factor in that auto regulatory component. Like on a day, if you're really feeling bad, maybe you just drop it back 15 pounds. Like it's not going to kill you in the long run. Or if you're feeling really good and everything's just moving and you're on fire, add 10, 15 pounds.
I think that's such an important thing that you're saying, and I'm really glad that it just seems like you're the type of person that trains and you sort of you seem you're intelligent, right? So you can look at things objectively and go, okay, what do I like? What do I not like? What seems to be working? What's not working? And then you end up at this point, and I think what you have as a very experienced lifter is something that I tried to teach to my young guys. But it is one of those things where like you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself, right? If you're not honest with yourself, you're gonna like literally die. You're gonna like burn out.
Yes.
You're gonna get hurt. You have to be smart about training. And
As a person who is, I'm sorry to
yeah, no
cut you
worries,
off
no
there.
worries.
As a person who's been like training himself like for the past 4 years now, I will say that if you cannot be honest with yourself, you will not maximize the effectiveness of training yourself.
Man, that is I love hearing that. It's hard for young lifters to say, you know what, like I had a rough week. Today I should probably get this number out of my head and just take what I have for today. I always say take what you have. For example, when you come in to your big training days where you hit your PRs, do you have like a general sense of like I would like to do this, but I'm gonna take what I have? You're not like fuck that. I'm gonna hit 5 reps 800 no matter what, and then you strain your back, and now you're in a you know what I mean? Um,
Yeah,
Staying in the pocket, leaving some in the tank. So I mean, I'm really glad that I had you come on here to talk about that because a lot of the time we just see the Ashton Rouska Invitational, and I see the high bar sometimes, right? So I don't really I'm not really too sure, but hearing what you're saying, I mean, I could literally I have one guy that comes to mind who I have a training block where it's like squat bench and then off, and then he does all three, and then he has an off day. It's not the same as how you described it, but it's like similar. Like it could work, and like auto regulatory component. You got multiple days of stimulus in there. I mean, it totally makes sense why everything's working, and you're always fresh. Kind of, your Saturdays are gonna be stronger than your other days because obviously, like you're planning it, right? So your whole week kind of leads to the Saturday where you should be able to display some sort of strength.
it circles around that moment, literally.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And that is I've done numerous videos on like how important the training split is. It all kind of revolves around the rest days and the days that you want to be strongest. You have days where you're strong, you have days where you take it easy. So it makes a lot of sense. It honestly makes a lot of sense, and coming from me, someone that's known for like programming, I am like literally co-signing what you're telling me. Which I mean, if there's anyone out there that like doubts anything, like they see what you're doing online, and they're like, oh, this guy's on steroids or whatever. But like, there's a lot more that goes into it. What about the years of work? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think people fail to realize. It's kind of like you said. They only see a very small part of the whole picture.
Yes.
Uh, they see one tree and they assume what the entire forest looks like. Um, but if you really look at how I structure all of my training, and if you just look at it for what it is, just raw numbers and raw data and how it's just sort of progressed, like, and considering a lot of the factors and variables that have occurred in my own personal life, like a lot of the progress isn't really that shocking. To me, it's not. Like
I mean,
to me, it makes sense.
I agree.
You know,
I mean, it's. I think anytime someone is pushing limits and exceeding what we know to be normal, that should be it should be highlighted. And like I'm obviously opening my platform up to you because I believe that people I want people to know more about someone who's like pushing limits. I know that I mean, like obviously, like I love Michael Davis. Mikey's my boy, and I have like he's had such a great journey, and obviously he's gonna try to keep you honest. But if you're to beat us, I mean, dude, I'm gonna be the first. I'll probably give you a hug. I'll probably shake your, you know what I mean? I'm gonna shake your hand and be like, hey man, like that's like hard work and I'm sure Mikey will shake your hand too. You know what I mean? Like obviously in competition, like we have to do what's best for. I think we kind of selfish,
Yeah.
But like after our last lift, I mean, if you would have got that last lift at nationals, I mean that last pull, which I feel like you could smoke now. I feel like that shit won't even be a thing for you right now.
Yeah.
um, I mean, I would have been cool. I would have been like, hey, that's the result. We gotta live with it. But you know, I I think I mean since we're talking about kind of meet the execution and things like that, um,
Yeah.
what is your most disappointing moment of your powerlifting career, and what is your favorite moment of your powerlifting career?
Oh, that's easy. So my most disappointing moment in my powerlifting career, I'll talk about that first. So that was my loss at 2018 Raw Nationals. That was a meet.
2018 Raw Nationals.
Yeah, I competed 93.
I remember 2018 Raw Nationals. Fuck, I believe. Man, I'm trying to think because I was coaching Keiko in that session. Was it ULS and Dave Ricks or Wilson? It was Wilson. It was the
Wilson.
squats, right?
Wilson won.
Yes,
Hmm.
because of the squat thing. Yeah, I remember that.
The squat thing. That's
Yeah.
right. That was what. That also is the second minus like aside with like sort of the military training component piece.
Yeah.
That piece right there, that specific meet where that happened, like that moment was like the second big catalyst for me, like severely shifting and changing a lot of the way that I train.
Um, I I will say that although it was a tough moment for you, and it was, I mean, your squats look deep as fuck to me because of the way that your body has to fold to hit depth. But I mean, we're gonna be dealt cards at the end of the day, and we gotta kind of deal with it. But from that moment, I don't know if people have been following, but you haven't really had issues. You
No,
haven't had
I
issues.
I mean I intentionally squat like in training, as often as I can, like well below
Yes.
like parallel, just because, I never want to get into a meet again and just like miss a squat, for like depth. Like, so the year that even that you mentioned earlier where I squatted 639, I smoked 661 my third attempt. I was like what,
I
18,
remember
19
that.
years old.
I remember that.
I smoked it, three and I got reds for
It's
depth.
tough, but I feel like I always tell people that okay, like you got to just take it on the chin, go back to the lab, fix it, and then get it done. Like prove to those same judges, like I'm gonna be undeniable. You're literally gonna have to be blind in order to give me a red light. You know what I mean? And
Yep,
you
that's
found
the
a way.
best way to
You
do it.
found a way to get it done, and it's we have to fall to experience that, and then it kind of just we just say like I'm never gonna let this happen to me again, and then you just handle it, you just solve it. I think
Hmm.
that's the right way to go about it, and um, that's it, man. I mean, shit. For me, my deadlift is always something that my third deadlift, it's always gonna be sketchy just because of the way that I'm built, and so I try to be conservative and um, I as heartbreaking as it is sometimes to go 8 for 8 and then miss one, like I literally waited a whole year, right? This whole last year for this Arnold, where I just said I'm not gonna do what I did the previous year. I'm just gonna make it right. I know that I can execute. I just need to do it, and I did it. It's just a matter of like mentally not getting caught up in the moment to the point where I lift heavy enough to the point where my form breaks down. But it's very, very rewarding. I always tell someone if you have to think like, oh, maybe I'll cut this one a little bit high and squat a little bit more weight or something like that, it's not worth it. Like you're gonna regret it in
Mm-mm.
the end, and you should just
It's
make
never
sure
worth
you
it.
can bury it. Make sure you can bury something big. Honestly.
Yeah, squatting high like in training, like it's never worth it. Like if I like did a rep and I thought it was high, like I would literally redo like I wouldn't count it.
Yeah.
Like to me, like it literally didn't happen.
What is your favorite moment? in your powerlifting career?
Okay, by far 2017 Raw Nats win.
2017 Raw Nats win. Oh
Yeah.
man, I'm trying to remember. I remember you pulling your deadlift.
Yeah, I think I did 777 for the win. My last, I got redded for my third attempt squat at that meet too, 705, which
Was
I also
was this
smoked.
93?
Yeah,
Nice, nice, nice,
I
nice.
totaled like 1850 something,
Man,
which at the time was pretty good.
that's
Yeah,
that's great, man. It's crazy how just seeing everybody progress. That like I know you know Keiko. I know you guys are chums. Um,
yeah. I
like
love cake.
dude, he was like at 2017, I believe coming in, he was ranked like 14th. He was like nobody even knew who he was. He ended up getting fourth, and like his total now that he just put up, I think it was like
14.
1914, something like that. Um, like that would be your previous year, but your total now, you know what I'm saying, is like everybody is getting better. Everybody is like leveling up. I mean,
Everyone's progressing.
the ones
Yeah,
that want to, even seeing Amendola come up, obviously Mikey, like anyone that takes it serious. That's why like when the quarantine thing happened and I knew that guys couldn't train, I was like anyone that's like super passionate about this and they make training a priority, they're gonna find a way. You're just gonna find a way. It's not. I'm not trying to put people down, that can't do it or whatever. I'm just saying. All I'm saying is some people they're just willing to do what it takes and some
yeah,
people are not willing to compromise and there's a limit for everyone. If you feel that it gives you too much stress because you don't want to bring training equipment into your living room, yeah, it's a pain in the ass. It really is, and you got to be careful and all that stuff. But I mean, what's the alternative? Are you willing to live with that alternative? That's a question that, I mean, how long did it take for you to get stuff to put into your house? And were you just like, "Oh, well, I'm going to do it." Like there's probably no dispute. You were just like, "I got to find a way."
yep. I went online like literally as soon as I found out that I was staying home from classes. This was before I actually got the official stay-at-home order from the state of Maryland. I was like, oh shit, it's coming. So I got the. I immediately went on online, and a lot of the racks are already sold out, mind you, at this point. And so if people that tried like 2 weeks later, there was a whole wave
Oh,
of
they're
people that
screwed.
tried could not get anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So literally, I found this $130 rack. I was like, bingo, there it is. I can take it. It'll work. I've squatted out of scarier things before. Got that. Got the necessary plates, and then I ordered an Ohio Power barbell as soon as that thing opened up. I jumped on it and ordered it like that same day, like within minutes of getting that email. And then and then I was set up, and then I had everything I needed. I had weights, I had a bar, I had a rack,
Were you
and I had a
worried?
garage.
Were you like, damn, where am I gonna put it?
Bro, I was like, I was literally looking. I was looking at my apartment floor because the layout was a little bit different before, and I was like, I'm gonna put a rack right in here, right in the middle.
If you don't mind me asking, with like you're a busy guy and you can obviously like when the military is not killing you, you can focus on training. How do you support yourself?
Oh, well, so I mean, you mean like financially?
Yeah, like does the military help you or I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, so technically, I'm technically an active duty officer, so I get paid as an active duty officer. So yeah,
So you get paid to go to school.
yeah. And then the schools I completely paid for too.
And that I mean, obviously you had to earn this, right? You probably had to be in for a certain amount of time to be eligible to be able to. I mean, that's like living the dream, man. Like you get paid to go to school, you could train. I mean, I'd be thankful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. I love it. I do. As stressful as like what I do is, and it's like at least like schoolwork wise, like in terms of like really military like commitments and stuff, like hardcore military training. There's not really a whole lot of that, and this is an educational environment, so I don't really get a whole lot of that right now. So I'm able to like for the most part train like pretty good. Um,
That's really good to
and
hear, man. We see all this negativity in the world, and I always wonder, like, man, does the government care about people? Like, are we just out here to fend for ourselves? But it looks like I mean, you got yourself in a program and you're okay, and you know, uh, like that's it. That's a
yeah,
great thing to hear. It's a great thing to hear.
I mean really well off. I mean I mean, live comfortably. There's really no fortunately there's no like financial stressors or anything going on. It's a good for me personally. It's been a good gig. It's a good deal. I mean, I work my ass off. Believe me, I
Yeah,
work.
I know. I believe you.
But like I've gone many nights the past several weeks where I would be up like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 a.m. like literally just doing work and like sleep schedule completely thrown off. But I don't regret any of it, and it's all worth it.
I mean, when you get to whatever goal that is, I'm sure it's gonna feel great. Um, how do you deal? Does it bother you at all when people come at you about like steroids, or they try to discredit the work that you've done? Does that mentally? Do you feel like you have to entertain these people? Do you kind of just? I mean, I know the answer, but I'm just for the people. What do you? How do you address that?
No, I don't. 99% of the time, I just honestly like I'll like read it, and 99% of the time, my first like gut knee jerk reaction, I'll just like laugh or like I'll smile. Like like I really don't get mad about it. It doesn't really like negatively affect me or my training in any way. But I do, in a way, sort of feel sorry for them, um, because a lot of the people that I see making those accusations. Yeah, I'm not trying to generalize or anything, but it's just kind of like hard for me to wrap my mind around, completely like discrediting or disregarding like how you mentioned earlier, years of someone's like hard work, or really just looking at sort of like what they functionally do. Like even though social media only gives you a slither of a person's life, like a lot of my training is on there, and if you like kind of look at it collectively and as a whole, like, you can really sort of see like a pattern of like
You could see you coming up over the
an
years.
upward trajectory. Yeah, and so it's not like shocking or anything, but I mean, to some people, I guess it is. Um,
Do you since we're talking about social media, do you ever compare yourself to others in a way that would you say is beneficial to your own motivation?
hmm.
Like you'll see a weight that someone's lifting, and you'll think to yourself, um, like, man, like, even though this person, I want to try to surpass that, or I want to try to use this person like as a source of motivation, or are you kind of just like in your own realm, or is it a little bit of both?
I think it's a little bit of both. I certainly watch, like my competition, and I watch what they lift. Um, and there is like some level of self comparison. Like a lot of people, are on the train that says, oh well, I'm just gonna do me, and it's all me, and it's if I get better or not, and that's like the bottom line. And I think that's fine. Like that's totally okay. But I think for me personally, when it comes to competing and stuff, since I'm the kind of person that has the personality that always runs towards the fight and like not away from it,
Yeah.
like I watch what other people do carefully. That includes, that includes Michael. That includes, Jonathan. That includes um, Bryce, Rondell, Ben Rice. Every single guy that you can think of, like in the 105, that's like top 20,
You
25, like has
versus
that style.
Rondell, but it has to be full power, full peak, full everything Rondell. That is something that I think. Look, man, I'm gonna just say this, right? I know most of powerlifters are like little, right? So they look at the 74s and like the small people, but like the 105s are so fucking close, and they're
Yeah,
all
it's
super
fire.
strong, and they're lifting like inhuman weights. Rondell in peak strength against Ashton at like any kind of setting. I mean, I would love to see that. I don't know if it's like, I mean, international travel sounds so impossible right now. It's like no way.
Yeah.
I'll be shocked if Worlds happens, but um,
But
I've
in the next few years, yeah, I could definitely see it happening. I know that Rondell, he is another one of those. There is something really special about him. Like when it comes to like just being strong in general, he's definitely built differently than most.
yes, I'll never forget. I'm pretty sure at 2018 Worlds when I was in Canada, he beat the Open with his
He did. He
junior
told him
tour.
like 1950.
Yeah, he's absolutely nuts, and I think he'll be a great adversary for you. Like in a obviously there's no animosity. It's just like
No, he's a friend.
It's a good challenge, and you guys are sort of pushing each other, and we're all in this together at the end of the day. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, some people they look at other people online and they see their success, and it truly mentally affects them in a negative way. Because there's two kinds of people. You either meet the threat or you run and you fold. And me from a coaching perspective, I am literally addicted to coaching in the high stress, everything on the line. You have to make the right call, travel across the world, put everything on the final pull. I love those situations, right? I always want to go towards that, and I'm never going to run from those situations. And I believe in myself, and I believe in my lifters, and you know, I feel like that's exactly how you are with lifting. You want to be in the mix. You want to be going like who's the biggest threat? Like I want to go against them and things like that. And others like they're strong. They're very very strong, or they do whatever they got to do to get to that high. Like they have a chance. They have a chance to get it done, but for whatever reason, they just can't pull it together where it counts. And I think that really separates people from like, yeah, you could lift in the gym all you want, but you have to get it done where it counts. If you want to build any kind of legacy for yourself, if you want to create any sort of foundation that people are going to look at over years and just be very impressed by or see as a source of motivation or whatever, you have to get it done where it counts under stress. You need to be strong both mentally and physically. Um, it's not just like, oh damn, look how strong. Like I see gym lifts all the time. I'm like, okay, let's cut weight and get it done. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
if a new lifter comes up, I'm not going to. I will acknowledge anyone that shows up and gets it done where it counts, and I'm sure you'll do the same. Anybody that like can execute under direct competition. You're standing across from your competitor. I mean, I think we need to applaud that. That's what it's all about. But if you're a gym lifter and you're talking shit and you haven't done anything, I hate that so much. Like I cannot tell you how. Um, I'm not gonna drop names, but in the past, others would try to. They would try to like. Here's one of my lifters, and they would try to call them out and say, like, oh man, I can't wait to compete against you head up. And it's like you haven't done shit. You don't even deserve to be like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. It's just something that I hate, and I'm sure you don't get that because obviously you're at the top of the game, and I don't think anyone's gonna come out of nowhere and call you out. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, maybe they need to say that to seem tough for themselves, but um, it's just about earning it, putting in the work. That's one thing I love about powerlifting. I'm sure you can relate to this. Is that you have to get it done. You have to put in the work. You have to lift the weights. It's not like bodybuilding where you could like literally feel like you win and lose. It's like, did you beat my number or not? You know?
Yeah. Like objectively, did you move total more weight than the other person under the rules and regulations set forth by whatever federation you're
Yeah.
competing in, right?
Yeah. Do you plan on getting all the way up to 230? Are you just gonna kind of train and see what your body does, or are you gonna like what is the goal with your body weight?
Right now, I want to try to get to hopefully in the next like few months or a year, get into like a solid 220, and then over the next few years, eventually go up to 230. But I don't really ever see myself trying to compete in the weight class above that.
Yeah, I don't. It would be for your frame. I think 120. I mean, you just got to be like a bigger. You'd have to be such a big person. I don't even know. Like
I,
then,
I would never fill out that weight class. The most I would ever like, I've literally like made a contract with myself. The most I will ever allow myself to weigh in my life is 250, and I will never go over that.
I think. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to compromise your health. I'm not gonna lie. I started dieting a little bit because right after the Arnold, that was the biggest I ever was in my life. I was like 260 ish, and I'm into like the mid 250s now, and it's just like seeing how people that were very out of shape and overweight were like dying to this thing. It just made me kind of say, you know what, like I need to get it in gear. I mean, I lost 30 pounds in 2017, and nobody really knew about it. Like dieting is all mental for me. I'm sure it's kind of the same thing for you. Um, but yeah, man, it's crazy because you're putting up these numbers and you're not even like at the weight class. Like you're not like 10 pounds over the weight class and you cut down. You're like literally just heavy enough to get in the weight class.
Oh yeah, no, I never like to be. but that's always been me though, and that's
Yeah.
consistent with my personality. You know, like I've never been the kind of guy that will cut 10 weights, or excuse me, to cut 10 pounds to be more competitive. Like I'm gonna compete like where I'm at, where I'm comfortable, like body weight wise. One, but two, I guess more importantly than that, even like I'm gonna want to compete against like who's the strongest, basically.
Yeah. And I can see. I mean, it is kind of funny to me when like I don't know, somebody will lift the weight and you'll comment like, "Oh man, like I'm gonna hit that for 5 this week." I'm like, that's competitive, Ashton. I like that about you though. You know, it's like it's funny. It's funny because like you're just shitting on that person's life without even knowing it. But at the same time, like that's you, and I can respect that you are yourself. You are your authentic self, and you know, I think
Yep.
one thing. There's a lot of people that I've met throughout these years, right? And you've just always been yourself, and I think I'm drawn to that authenticity. You know what I mean? I really enjoy that you. I never got a vibe from you like, oh, this guy's a liar or this guy is like deceitful or anything like that. So I mean, it's always I appreciate it, man. I just appreciate like real people. You know, I wish more people would just kind of be honest in that regard. Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, I think
Always
there's
trying to be.
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
There's actually one thing I will say though. Like kind of like with like the joke of like shitting on people's lives. That's always that's always for me that's always twofold because the way that I think about it is I do that one because my training calls for like that really demanding stuff, but two because I really like to push and challenge like my competition and not in a negative way because honestly I love all of them. Like
Yeah, I
I
never
I
thought that you
like
were.
them.
I never thought that you were malicious at all. I never got that. Like I totally understand. I feel like I get you, so I've never taken offense to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And then like I hate to see like if one of them gets hurt or like they have to like stall or hold things out or whatever. Like I never like seeing that because for me I'm like I like compete with this person and I want them to be like at their best and their strongest. And when I do like the craziness that I do, I'm hoping that I'm motivating them to train, of course, that much harder and to become stronger over time, within like reason and their means and everything. That way, when everybody shows up game day, we can have a really good time. I
What's
mean,
very
that's
interesting about this era that we live in and what we're doing right now is the weights that are being lifted literally have never been lifted before. What I'm able to do with Russ, what Russ is able to do, with his body and just in that weight class, and you in whatever fucking weight class you competed in, Keiko, anyone at the top that's pushing the limit and doing what's never before done. I mean, we are in that time. That time is like right now. You know what I mean? Who knows? Either things will continue to go up, or in 10 years from now, people will look back and be like, the golden era of like, drug-free raw powerlifting was, back in 2020 or whatever. So, I mean, they probably won't say 2020 because obviously people aren't competing because of the situation. But it's literally like, hey, I'm doing this thing that's never before been done. This is an open invite for anybody else to kind of do it. Let's push the limit together. Let's help everything sort of excel. I mean, eventually powerlifting numbers are going to get to a point that's so absurd that the general population will have no choice but to acknowledge it. That's what I think. I think that eventually, I don't see why the powerlifting can't be in the Olympics. I don't see why powerlifting can't, be a bigger thing if people are literally lifting weights that like normal people can't comprehend. Why is it that when I post a squat with pound plates that's literally like 100 pounds less than my best on kilos, that more people engage with it? Because regular people see the pounds and they go, like, what the hell? This guy looks like a regular dude. How is he able to do that? So maybe they get interested now. You know what I mean? Same thing with you. Maybe they look at you and I mean, probably they're probably gonna think you're on something. I'm just saying, like regular people, like if you go to 24-hour fitness with me and you try to fucking lift anything, people are gonna be like, "Hey, bro, what are you running, bro?" You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
I mean, they just don't know. They're just kind of ignorant to it. But yeah, it is great seeing. There's pros and cons of social media, but I think if you're mentally strong, that's only it's only pros. It's only like good things can come from it. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, social media is just people being themselves, like kind of expressing themselves, maybe with a little less restriction because like it's on the internet, right? Um, so just looking at the last couple of things here, I think this is a really good podcast. I think a lot of people got to learn more about you, and especially like just sort of your mindset and being insightful about training and things like that. Um, what is a message that you would like to leave for others before we end this? Like what is something that you want other people to leave? What do you like other people to leave this podcast and take one thing with them? What would it be?
I guess the one big thing that I would want people to sort of, I guess, something that I would like to see more in the world, like people embody more, everywhere in general. I just want to see people run towards the fight more, instead of away from it. I think that for me, and that's such a big thing that I emphasize in this talk, I think for me that's like one of the biggest things that I just don't see happening as much as I think it should happen. To create, of course, a better, stronger powerlifting community, a better, stronger society.
I think
There's such simple words, but there's a lot of power behind it.
I I love that you said that because at the end of the day, I am. It's about being a real person, right? It's okay to face your fears. It's okay to have the uncomfortable conversation with someone and say, hey, like we have a relationship, but we need to work on this to get better. You know, just it all goes down to just what is facing the fight, right? What is it? It's just facing a fear. It's just not being afraid to not being afraid of the unknown, not being afraid of competition. Like it's okay to lose. It's okay to put in hard work and lose to someone that is also put in hard work. You have to commend that. They're going through what you're going through. You got to be a competitor. And I mean,
Absolutely.
it's a lot easier said than done. Like we could sit here and tell people, like I mean, you got a lot of your amazing life lessons and the things that you've learned through the military. I feel, just going through adversity, your family, whatever you went through growing up and stuff like that. And like I learned my upbringing, me playing sports. I had crazy football coaches that just made us mentally tough, and um, that helps us come into the real world and just like I mean, when you go through something difficult, like nothing really bothers you, and you kind of focus on what matters. You know what I mean? Um, so, like if you go, how many times have you gone into a big competition where you really felt like you were gonna win and something didn't go your way? You know what I mean? A couple big times, and that's
Yeah.
tough, but it builds character. And I feel like maybe you needed those things to happen in order to be where you are today. So, people people literally have you only have something to gain. You know what I mean?
I mean, if 2018 and 2019 Raw Nats didn't happen, I don't think I would be. I may not be exactly where I'm at right now, like strength wise.
And those are two performances that you weren't necessarily insanely proud about. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, I think that's a great message, man. I think that's really good, and I think that's a great place to end. I know you got to get to training, so I'm gonna let you go do that. I will leave your Instagram link down below. Um, yeah, man. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it's good to see and talk to you again.
Yep, yep.